If you think a rich, hearty Bolognese sauce needs meat, today's recipe will change your mind. This plant-based recipe is so flavor-packed and satisfying that even carnivores love it. This is one of those recipes that proves simple can be incredible, so let's dive in. Now, one thing that makes Bolognese sauce stand out different from other sauces is its thick, hearty texture. And we'll accomplish that by using mushrooms and cauliflower. First thing we'll do is toss our mushrooms in our food processor, and we just want to give this a really fine chop. I'll just transfer these mushrooms into a bowl, and we'll take care of that cauliflower next. If you've ever made a traditional Bolognese sauce, you can actually see how much this resembles ground beef. I like to make my own riced cauliflower, but if you don't want to mess with it, you can of course buy the frozen riced cauliflower in the grocery store. But to rice the cauliflower, just peel off the outer leaves and cut your cauliflower in half, then quarter your cauliflower and just come down through and cut out the largest piece of the core. And then the remainder cauliflower, you can just break into some florets. And I'll just push these aside and get the other pieces ready, and we'll throw them in the food processor. And there's no need to rinse out your food processor after processing your mushrooms. Cauliflower only takes about 10 or 15 seconds. So I'll just drop a little water in my pot, and when the water dances, I know I'm ready to slide my food in. So first thing, we're going to add the mushrooms, and we want to cook the moisture out of these mushrooms. And to expedite that, I'm going to give it just a couple grains of salt. Anytime you want to weep the juices out of produce, just a little bit of salt will really speed up that process. So we're going to cook these mushrooms until they cook dry. And while these mushrooms cook, I'll just get my other ingredients ready, and we'll throw this sauce together. The other veggies that go in this sauce are carrots, celery, and onions. And you can chop these in your food processor, but I just like to use my handy little chopper for this task. I'm just leaving all these veggies on my cutting board, and during the time it took to chop those veggies, my mushrooms have cooked dry. And I'm going to splash some water in because I want to break all that flavor loose from the sides of the pan. And now we'll slide in our veggies. Stovetop cooking is really different than baking. Baking requires very precise measurements. But when you're stovetop cooking, you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to adding vegetables or your ingredients other than your spices. So if I have a recipe that calls for 2 carrots and I have 1 large carrot, I'll use that. Or if it calls for 4 stalks of celery and I have 5, I'll use that. So you really have a lot of flexibility when it comes to stovetop cooking. All of the moisture is cooked out of my pot, so I'll go ahead and just add all the other ingredients. First, let's toss in our garlic. And let's mix the garlic in really well and let it get nice and warm. Next, we'll add our water, oregano, Italian seasoning, bay leaves, and be sure to count your bay leaves so you know how many to retrieve before serving, balsamic vinegar, Bragg's aminos or tamari or soy sauce, nutritional yeast. We like it spicy, so crushed red pepper, that's optional. Bouillon, and this is my beefless bouillon. If you use store-bought bouillon, you'll want to look at the directions below and use a reduced amount because it's so salty. But this is my homemade bouillon, and the recipe link I'll just put down below. And then an optional ingredient is a vegan Worcestershire sauce. And it just adds a little extra depth if you've got it handy. Tomato paste. Tomato sauce. and our cauliflower. Now this is very thick, but a lot of moisture will cook out of this cauliflower. I have my heat at about medium, and this will splatter as it simmers. So I'll cover this and I'll check it about every 10 minutes and give it a stir. I simmered this on low for about 30 minutes, stirring it occasionally, and it reminded me of a pot of sauce that you see in a really great Italian movie. I simmered this bolognese until the cauliflower was really tender and the consistency of this sauce is spot on. I love to cook the cauliflower completely in the sauce, but sometimes I'm in a hurry, and in those cases I will pop the cauliflower in the microwave for a few minutes and cook it until it's tender, and then I'll throw it in the pot, and that will save about 15 minutes on the cook time. Tonight, we're serving this over pasta, and you've probably seen this before, but this is my favorite pasta. It's a high-protein pasta. It's made with a blend of flours from different legumes, and it's a great source of fiber too. If you're craving a traditional hearty Italian sauce, give this recipe a try. It's also great on any baked Italian dish. This is really good. I hope you give this recipe a try. If you do, let me know how it goes in the comments. And thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed our time together, please click the like and subscribe so you don't miss our recipe next week, and I'll see you then.